Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Purple Sector F1's Race 8 in the Lone Star State of Texas, the Circuit of the Americas GP. Now, I do apologize as I do have a new microphone right now, so if you will grant me a few seconds of figuring out if I sound good. I've been hailing the day that this new microphone would come, and I want to make sure it doesn't sound terrible. I'm just gonna have to be careful here. It sounds like it's picking up a lot of stuff here, so I'll be fiddling with this throughout the stream, guys. I do apologize if it's excessive annoying. If my voice is too quiet at any point, do feel free to call me out on that. I don't want to obviously give you guys a bad viewing experience. I would feel especially sad, admittedly, if the microphone wasn't all I think it's going to be. And that would really surprise me because the headset I use is it's been so long. I've had it since middle school. It's a Razer. It's a Razer headset, so pretty old. But maybe the microphone on that thing is just better, to be quite honest. Sorry, doing a gains check here real quick. Make sure that it's not picking up anything abnormal. I think with that though, it's not sounding terrible. So I will get back on to our normal showing here. We're still waiting for a lot of our drivers to join here, so I do apologize if there's any delay, especially to your guys' busy day. But as I had previously mentioned, Race 8 here in the Circuit of the Americas, COTA is the acronym, and it is located here in Austin, Texas. I say here as if I live in Austin, Texas, or in Texas in general. I don't live there. But I have been there. My first ever F1 race in person was actually in Austin, Texas. So it does hold, to a certain extent, a special place in my heart, obviously. I know it's also one of those controversial tracks, American tracks, that a lot of people are a little unsure about. Admittedly, I kind of am myself. It wasn't the most exhilarating race I ever went to, and I've only been to two, and the second one was Spain this year. Oh my goodness, was that a race, man. If Max, okay, talking point, I think Max could have won the championship if he didn't slam into George Russell literally on the final few laps. Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy that I think, there at such a critical point. And I know you can argue, every point's critical, but I really think the Spain incident in particular was probably the decido factor here. I turned my fan on. I want to make sure my microphone isn't picking it up, so I do apologize if I go quiet here. Okay, not too bad. You can hear me fiddling with my mic though. I was changing the LED. I have a nice little sky baby blue now. But crazy race. I hope you guys watched it. I mean, Lando Norris, you are the world champion. Great race. I mean, it was a battle. I admittedly was a Team Max. I do apologize. I have to cough. Excuse me. I do admit I was Team Max, so I was a little bummed to not see him win, but it was a great race. I was really banking on Charles Leclerc winning, of course, or not winning. Excuse me, Charles Leclerc catching up to Lando, and getting him into fourth place essentially, and Leclerc taking third place, and that would have gave Max Verstappen the win. But alas, the McLaren car is simply too good. A little unfortunate with Sonoda as well. I was really hoping that Sonoda would have offered a little bit of a tussle, I guess, but didn't happen. Nonetheless, a great race. I will say I am not too sure about the call regarding Sonoda. I do think, I mean, it was an aggressive maneuver, and I won't deny that. But I'm just not sure if it was uh, a 5 second penalty at all, honestly. But nonetheless, that wouldn't have really changed anything. Leclerc wasn't anywhere near within 5 seconds. It just inhibited Sonoda ultimately. From my understanding, when you're not in a braking zone, you are allowed to make more than one maneuver, and I'm not saying that these drivers should be jumping around all over the place, obviously, but Sonoda did do two moves, and I don't think they were entirely unfair moves. I think Lando Norris had more than enough room when he got pushed off to the left side to still keep two wheels comfortably on the track. Obviously, a high-stake moment, but I'm not too sure. It was really funny. I was watching it with my friend, though, and Alonso also overtakes off track, like barely off track, literally like right after Norris does it. And we immediately said, this seals it. Like, nothing's going to come. Like, if Alonso doesn't get a penalty, this is completely on purpose, which is my reason why I think they showed favoritism on that note. Alonso did the exact same off-track overtake, and maybe I don't understand the Abu Dhabi track limits. And nonetheless, neither of them got penalties. Obviously, Tsunoda got his penalty, but Alonso wasn't penalized for the off-track overtake. Interesting is all I'm saying. And as far as I'm aware, they don't show Alonso a lot of favoritism there. So sit on that, if you will. But I did want to talk a little bit about the championship. If you guys have your own opinions, I would love to talk with you guys about that. In general, I think it was nonetheless a very fun and interesting race. So I do apologize if you're hearing me move around here in the background. I am still adjusting. I have a completely new setup, so I have obviously the new microphone that I previously mentioned, and I actually have a separate headset. It's my personal headset. I really like it. I think it sounds really nice. It's a nice Sony. I forget the exact brand name. I bought it like 2 years, or like the model 2 years ago. Sounds super pretty, especially when it's hooked up. I'm a tiny bit of an audiophile. I use this one just out of comfortability. I feel like a lot of the in-the-ear stuff, like IEMs, don't really sit in there for me, so it's a little annoying. But anyway, I've yapped on long enough. We are still waiting for a few of our races here, guys, so I do apologize if there's a bit of a delay. But moving on to our track stats. So as you guys can see here, this is the wonderful circuit of the Americas. It's honestly one of my favorite circuits in terms of its shape and design. I think it looks super interesting. It almost looks like a hatchet / dagger, which I think is also very American. Maybe a rifle too. You could probably argue a rifle. The turns 20 and 1 kind of make the stock. Turn 11 would be like the end of the barrel. But, use your imagination. I brought up how Las Vegas looked like a pig, so maybe I'm just really reaching with these U.S. circuits. But to walk us through here real quick what we're looking at, for general track info here, as I previously mentioned, this circuit is located in Austin, Texas, of the United States of America. It was first opened in 2012, and it was the first F1 USGP to be introduced back again after 2007. So pretty cool. Having a U.S. track back. I still wait for the day that a U.S. team really shows out. Hopefully Cadillac is that team, and hopefully they find themselves a U.S. born driver. I was really banking on Logan Sargent, but we all know how that went. But regardless of that, this is a Herman Tilke design in collaboration with an American firm. So once again, our wonderful Herman Tilke designing yet another track here. And the track length is 5.5 kilometers or 3.4 miles with 20 corners. 11 of those corners are left-handers and 9 of them are right-handers, and it runs counterclockwise. The elevation change here is 41 meters or about 134 feet, and it's pretty much all in the first corner, which you guys will get to see here in qualifying. But the first corner is pretty much the whole of the elevation, and then the track just gradually goes back down. There's, I think, a little bit of elevation between turns 7 through 10, and then it's a pretty steep drop between turns 10 and 11, and then after that it kind of just trickles its way down, I think, back obviously to the starting line. Once again, you guys get to see that. It's a pretty cool corner. It's a lot of fun. I think especially in, I always talk about it, but GT3, just because of how the braking works. In F1, it's especially interesting just because of how late these cars can obviously brake, and the fact that gravity and friction ultimately help you when you're going up a hill. So some pretty late braking opportunities. We had a pretty fun and entertaining sprint race this year in COTA. If you guys remember, I believe Piastri Norris got hit because Hulkenberg caused like a chain effect. It was pretty. It was kind of crazy. A lot of fun. But moving into the track design characteristics here, COTA is a hybrid style track with a mix of high speed sweepers, technical low speed corners, heavy braking zones, as I had mentioned with turn one, and then obviously the long DRS straight, which I'll get to here shortly. The beginning here, the S's that I have highlighted here mimic Maggots and Beckett's in Silverstone, or the S's in Suzuka. If you guys have watched the Great Britain Twitch stream, I unfortunately didn't save it and upload it to the YouTube channel, but if you guys have driven it, then you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's not exactly Maggots and Beckett's, but it's pretty nice. I still like it. It's a fun little rhythmic layout. The first sector and the start of the second sector, well, again, a lot of rhythm. Drivers want to make sure they kind of know how they're supposed to be approaching it. If you're not on the racing line, it's a pretty unfavorable position to find yourself in. Now, I do know that I typically talk about the winners here, but we are moving on to qualifying, so I'll try to move here pretty quickly. But moving on here, the overtaking spots I'd like to mention here, stuff to look out for, is turn one hairpin. As I'd mentioned, that hairpin is called the hill climb, or the Texas hairpin. Once you guys see it, you'll realize it's incredibly wide. A lot of opportunity for cars to go, maybe even 4 wide, trying to take that turn. Not that I think it would end terribly where, but it's a pretty comfortable 3 wide turn right there. The end of the straight, so jumping through here, turn 2 is a nice little wide right-hander. The S's, as previously mentioned, mimic a lot of Suzuka and Silverstone. Before turn 6 hits a nice little wide right-hander, fairly sharp left-hander on turn 7. And then turn 8, 9, and 10 kind of are the end of the S's, in my opinion, even though I have that section highlighted there. Which then leads into turn 11, which if a car is somehow able to stay close enough to a competitor, they're able to overtake here before hitting the overtake straight. That's kind of the name of the first DRS zone here in Sector 2, and then, of course, turn 11. Very, very long straight here, a lot of overtaking opportunity. DRS is quite strong in this zone. And then at the end of this straight, turn 12 is also a huge braking zone. It's a very sharp left-hander. So cars that get overtaken are able to fight back, and this hits the zone called Stadium Complex. So the Stadium Complex is turns 12 through 15. Very rhythmic once again, but kind of like an odd, slow pace rhythm. You guys will have to see it. It's a very unique piece of track in a lot of the tracks that I've ever seen. I really like Sector 3 here in Austin. And then turns 19 and 20 could offer possible overtaking opportunities. Not terribly popular, but nonetheless, it can still happen. So we'll have to see what our drivers here do today. So I would love to go over the Drivers' Championship here at the moment, but I do want to jump over the game cap, show you guys what is happening now on track. If you guys will give me a quick second to get myself situated on my end. I want to make sure everything here is working fine. Throw on the track map here. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are watching Rebel. Unfortunately, not a terribly full lobby here today. We are hitting the holiday season, so a lot of these drivers are experiencing a pickup with family events. My love goes out to those guys. It's always a pleasure to be with friends and family during the holidays. Christmas is one of my personal favorites, obviously. I think in general, Christmas is probably most people's favorites, which is maybe a little obvious to say, but I love it, man. I love Christmas. It's so jolly. It's so fun. It's great. It's just, I love the vibes, I guess, the energy that comes with Christmas. Anywhere you go, really. You know, you go shopping, you get to set up the house real nice. I really enjoy it. Excuse me, I just realized that my chat is not popping out on my OBS, and I'm a little confused as to how to get that out here. If you guys will give me a second. I'll jump back here to Rebel as he's nearing the end of his outlap here. But doesn't look like I'll be able to get that set up here before Rebel's outlap. So Rebel's actually already not doing a hot lap, excuse me. I thought he was doing a hot lap. Here we go. So Rebel's coming up here to the starting line right now, hitting turn 20. I'm getting a good handle of how the broadcast angle looks like as well. So let's jump in here to the cockpit. or actually, we won't jump into the cockpit for the first one, but as you guys can see, here is the Texas hill climb here, turn one, a fairly steep uphill before a solid down here. A lot of speed as he's carrying into turn two now, hitting the S's here, 3, 4, 5. Hitting turn 6 now. Nice little left-hander here before hitting turn 7, or right-hander hitting turn 7 now. A little left-hander. Sharp right-hander. It's a quick 180 before snapping back left on turn 9 here. He's kind of hitting the hill now. Hitting turn 10. Coming down to turn 11. The overtake straight here. A little bit of a slip there from Rebel as he's coming out of turn 11. A little unfortunate, but we're now watching him hit the first DRS zone here. Fairly long straight, as I'd mentioned. A little bit of a hill action. You'll be able to see the Williams in the background there. Very nice looking. Turn 12 now coming up here. And I will jump onto the camera here so you guys can see this sector that I was talking about. Hitting turn 13 now, 14. 15, you kind of got to swing wide to be able to hit 15 here. You want to make sure you maximize track usage. A lot of slipping right now as IUF1 Williams. That's the fastest time at 32.981 here. Nice long spoon right-hander before hitting turn 19. Very strong, aggressive move into that turn from Rebel here. Good little slide in. Hitting turn 12, taking a little bit more, a little slower here, and crossing the line here. I think he is the fastest lap. You guys will give me a second. Yes, a 132.192, almost a full second ahead of the rest of the grid right now that has set a lap. So let's jump into one of these other drivers here. I'd like to see somebody who is barely starting their lap. We'll be in the cockpit this time as he crosses the finish line now. Allow me to throw on some lap data. See how steep that hill climb is right there, man. I mean, you can't see what's at the top of that, especially if you're really gunning for an overtake. Heading turn 2 now, coming up on the S's. A lot of hills on this track, honestly. It's a little blind sometimes. You just kind of got to rely on your skill set and your knowledge as a driver here. Hitting turn 9 now, sharp, or excuse me, not turn 9, that was turn 7. Hitting turn 8 now. And then turn 9. Turn 9 and 7 are pretty similar, to be quite honest with you. Two sharp left-handers like that. Coming down up into turn 11 here. Braking zones kind of 55 in between the 100 and the 50. I wouldn't say, excuse me, 55. That's silly. 75. I think it's in meters. Before turn 11. Now we're watching him here on the overtake straight right now. Nice little long straight. Before hitting turn 12 here. Sharp brake, sharp left here. Little bit of sliding. Almost loses control of the car there. Carrot G's doing a great job. We hear a pretty big lock up there as he's coming in to the complex now, the stadium complex. Very slow into turn 15 here. That is definitely going to be losing a fair amount of time there. 16 right here. 17 right there. Turn 18 is right here. Coming up on a turn 19. Let's see how he swings through this. Fairly aggressive, not as slidey as Rebel, I would say, but he takes turn 20 much more aggressively than Rebel, if you were to ask me. Here, getting DRS and crossing the finish line. Let's see what he finishes at. Carrot G with a 134.609. A good little lap here from Carrot G. We'll have to thank him in the comments, if you guys could, for his onboard camera showcase here. But while we are watching these guys set some lap times, once again, I do apologize as I do want to pull up the chat and make sure I'm not missing anything here. I see Carl the Chast. You sent some party time emotes. Thank you. I do have the Twitch pulled up here to the side, unfortunately, as I will try to figure out here OBS, what's it called? Twitch chat overlay. Do apologize. I don't want to waste you guys' time here, but this has never happened to me before, admittedly. Let's watch here money in the McLaren, considering that Landon Norris obviously just won the championship here. I wish it wouldn't tab out like this. When the moment I go to my other screens, it pauses it, which I think is quite annoying. But I'm not too sure how to fix that. But I do apologize if you guys will give me a quick second. As I mentioned, I do want to figure out OBS here. I don't know why it's doing this right now to me. Work OBS, the one time. All right. This is unfortunate to say, but apparently it looks like it's quite a commotion here. It's quite a commotion here to have to try to add the OBS chat. We're watching money go through the S's there as my very annoying pause menu is up. I again do apologize here, guys. To pull up a quick YouTube video. I can't believe I really like seeing what you guys say in the chat. I do apologize if this is a little annoying. This is more so for myself right now, just so I can see what you guys are telling me. Let's see. All right, I think I might be calling it here. Timer, scene, duplicate missing files. Twitch active feed. I think this is what I want. No, but it's very close to what I want. Where was that? Twitch chat. Why did it time out? Who knows? There we go, guys. Super sorry about that. I can finally see the chat. This is huge. Call the chast once again with the party time. I can close out, and I did already close out on that. As we're watching money cross the finish line, and it seems like he got a 135.784. Thank you, money. The amount of time you took to get your lap is the amount of time I needed here to pull the chat up. Sounds like I'm going to be joining the F1 grid here. I'll put myself below money, hypothetically here. I'm in 10th place right now. Pretty good chat lap from me, if you were to ask. But let us jump over here to Mac, who's the only individual to yet set a time. We're watching him go through or exiting the stadium complex, coming up into turns 16, 17, and 18 now. And goes wide. That is going to be a disqualification there from Mac. Super unfortunate moment there from him, as he's going to have to pit real quick and try again. Let's see how much time there is left. We do 18 minutes qualifying sessions, and I do want to respect the drivers and their time, so if you guys don't mind, I will be jumping to a different screen right now because I would love to go over the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship with you guys. So do give me a quick second as I pull up now the sorry about that, guys. Did not have that ready to go here. But looking at the Constructors' Championship, you guys can see right now Mercedes is currently holding first place in the Constructors. They've had very, very strong drives pretty much almost every point in the season. A great show out in Silverstone. Very unfortunate race in Las Vegas, though, actually. The main driver, Mudev, did not finish the race and DNF'd due to a very unfortunate turn 12 moment. That is on our YouTube channel if you guys wanted to watch the play-by-play there. I highly encourage you to go watch it. Super unfortunate, though. They only gained 4 points after TRD Phoenix's performance. A great performance, if you were to ask me, and the best he could have done. Following that is VCarb, a very close competitor. MSA Samad and JM624 have been doing a phenomenal job here. MSA Samad did win the Vegas GP, which was a huge moment, and net them a lot of points here. As you can see, it's only a 10-point difference. Following these guys, quite close to their back is Ferrari. These guys had a pretty rough participation rate for a little bit, but they got a fantastic second driver in Goatley, or a reserve driver, in Goatley, and then Reimer, who's their full-time driver as well, did a fantastic job and has really been bringing Ferrari back into the competition here. And being only 29 points behind isn't too bad. It only takes one bad race from any one of these guys to really change this standing here. Alpine is another team to be looking out for here as well. Phenomenal drivers, Rebel, and I believe they actually have a new driver. I didn't see another Alpine on the track, though. If you guys will give me a quick second to check here. There is no other Alpine on track. I thought they did add another driver, admittedly, but I may have been incorrect there. Now, moving on here, we have Williams. Williams has a fantastic driver lineup in Prosk and Carrot G. We've seen some great moments with Prosk and some great moments with Carrot G. They're definitely the team to keep their eyes on. It's like having 2 Carlos Sainz on your team. It's like that kind of driving, if that makes sense. I love watching these guys race. Red Bull, very consistent showing. I'm a little surprised they're this low. Obviously, not well. I guess I'm not. Excuse me, I was looking at Haas actually. I was about to say that they missed China, but that is the Haas team. But Red Bull has been one of the more consistent teams here. With Despy and Mack as their drivers. These two guys have been chasing a podium for quite some time now. They're some of the drivers that I think are most close to. They remind me a lot of George Russell and Kimi Antonelli in the real world, where they're always like right there. So I'm incredibly excited to see these guys on the podium, and I'm hoping it might be this race. Following that, the Haas team, McLaren, and then Aston Martin fill out the rest of our grid. Not hitting the triple digits quite yet. It's been a rough season for most of these guys. We've had some very strong drives here from the teams, though. Haas has Foko Enna, P07, representing them. He's been a great, fantastic driver. Had a phenomenal show out in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, lost out on a podium due to some stewards review, but nonetheless, finishing P4 is the highest anybody in the Haas team has done in this league. Just like Ollie Behrman. Moving on to McLaren. McLaren only has one driver here today in COTA, but they've had a pretty solid, consistent season between money and I can't believe I forgot the second driver's name, but I do apologize. Send my love out to the second driver. It's a little hard keeping track of almost 20 drivers on the grid when they're all gamer tags. Gunner Addy. I always say AD. Gunner is the second driver, just remembered. And then Aston Martin. Aston Martin has two phenomenal drivers, GDB 0791 and IUF1 William right now. IUF1 William has shown us a lot of action on track, and he's going to be a driver to watch here today. But moving on to the driver standings, guys. Give me a quick second here. Do apologize once again here. I did not have time to set this up to look pretty, but on the note of not having major drivers here, we actually don't have our top two title contenders here. So I'm going to say Samad in the V-Carb and then Mahmudev in the Mercedes are not racing today in COTA. So this could be a pretty big point moment for Rebel right now, who is appearing in the Alpine. I'm going to say Samad had a fantastic show out in Las Vegas, netting second place. I thought he won first place. I do apologize for that. It was not Reimer. It was a Rebel who won. Rebel had a fantastic race in Las Vegas. It's coming back to me right now as I'm recalling it. Highly encourage you guys to watch that on YouTube. It was insane. He spun out very early into the race and managed to bring it back for a P1. That was like one of the drives ever we've had in Purple Sector 1 here. Purple Sector F1, excuse me. Fantastic drive from Rebel, and I'm curious if he's going to be doing something like that here today. Followed then here Prosk. Prosk has been trying to keep up with these guys. I've managed to talk to him a fair bit, and he's itching for good finishes. It's about to be halfway into the season. Prosk is a fantastic driver, very consistent driver, and I'm excited to see him bring it in. But that kind of closes out our top 4 triple-digit drivers here, followed by Mack. Mack is one of the Red Bull drivers I'd mentioned who has been oh so close to a podium. We'll have to see if we see something here in COTA today. Reimer's had a fantastic drive here in Ferrari, missing 2 races and getting a first place podium and then 2 third place podiums, which has got him up into 6th place. Reimer and Mack right now are point rivals. We'll have to see how that changes here today in today's race. But it's coming up at the end of qualifying. I would love to pay my respect to the rest of these drivers, but I'll just scroll very slowly here. Foko Enna and the Haas, fantastic driving from him. William, IUF1 William, who we'll get to see today. I love watching him race. Goatley, we haven't seen him in quite some time, unfortunately, but I'm excited to see his return. Gunner, AD77 here, who's the other McLaren driver I had mentioned, unfortunately not joining us here today. Despy in the Red Bull is joining us here today, and I'm excited to see him on track. Followed by 7 here. Unfortunately, 7 has left the league, so we won't be seeing any more of him. So if anybody in the chat is interested in being an Alpine driver, or any driver at all, actually, we do have reserve positions for halftime, I guess, or obviously, I guess, just reserve drivers. So if you are interested and you don't want to fully dedicate a season, you can become a reserve driver and you just simply race whenever there's an open spot. We do have the Kick team as an always readily available team for reserve drivers, purely dedicated for reserve drivers. So regardless of what may happen, you may get a seat on the Kick team. But moving on here, we have had 32 racers, I believe, in total. No, 36 now. We've had 36 racers here in total. And I'm excited to hopefully see some of these guys later in the season. Some of the reserve drivers are obviously not always available, but it's always a pleasure to watch them. Goatley especially is one of those types of reserve drivers that I love watching on track. But moving back to the game cap here, ladies and gentlemen, it is the end of quali. Rebel setting the fastest time, a 1:31.907, right as I come back, actually. So thank you very much, Rebel, here for adding a nice little highlight. Prosk in second place right now, a 1:32.380. We'll have to see how he responds. Almost completely out of battery here by the end of the straight, though. We'll have to see how he manages his battery to gain any kind of advantage back. Going here through the stadium complex now. Hitting turn at 15. Nice little wide line. Good entrance from what I could tell. I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of these broadcast angles. This is a little weird. We'll have to see how it looks like when they're fighting on track. I feel like there isn't that much good angles, I guess, especially for side-by-side action here as we watch Prost come out of turn 20 and does not set a best time. In fact, he was behind 1.7 seconds here. A little unfortunate from Prost. We still have Carrot G, who moves up into 7th position, pushing down Foco into 8th position now. And I believe that is the end of our drivers here. I believe we're just waiting for Despy to pit now, and then it'll end the session here. But pretty interesting lineup here. 131 through 135. We'll have a fairly tight grid here. Rebel may be running away with it, but we'll have to see if Prosk or IUF1 William decide to go for any intense maneuvers into turn 1. As we're on board here with IUF1 William as he's hitting turn 12 here. Nice little angle as we're watching that beautiful, beautiful green of the Aston Martin. I just realized that my audio has not been on for the game. That is so embarrassing, guys. I'm super sorry. Chat, you guys are supposed to tell me this. No, I'm kidding. Super sorry about that. I did notice that that was off on my OBS there. Let's see. Yeah, right? You just hear the engines. You're Carl the Chase. I guess I was actually hearing them, I guess. But when you're a driver and you're watching some of these guys go, I've caught myself doing this. But sometimes I get so focused on the racecraft itself that I get lost in my own little world. Sometimes I throw on Spotify or something and I just have zero clue what's happening with the music. I'll like come back to like some random Daft Punk song. Hopefully your guys' Spotify year-end review was nice. I got Daft Punk as my number 1, of course. This is super embarrassing to say, but my number 1 song was oh my gosh, I Feel It Coming. So that was a little tough to have that one be my number 1, just because I mean I love the song. Obviously, I'm not saying I don't like it, but it's not pure Daft Punk. Second one was Instant Crush, though. I love Instant Crush. It's such a good song from Daft Punk. But I had a pretty good Spotify under your review here. Carl the Chast, you were playing Where the Winds Meet. I have not heard of that game. Hopefully it's fun, though. I believe Carl is I believe that's Captain Ahab right now, who is the president of the Red Bull team. Or the team principal of the Red Bull team. So don't get too distracted, Ahab. You got to make sure your drivers take advantage of whatever situations occur here. Waiting for the players to load in right now. I would like to thank anybody here who is joining us and watching the stream right now. We have quite a fun race next week as well. Jeddah. I know Jeddah is a very, very popular one. I love Jeddah. I think I like watching Jeddah more than I do. I do apologize, I'm doing something off screen here. I think I like watching Jeddah more than I like racing it. I get so nervous trying to stick as close as I can to the wall, which is ironic because I love Mount Bathurst in GT3, and that one is an insane track to try to stick close to. Sorry guys, I am trying to pull something up here off to the side. There we go. Awesome. Sorry about that. Just making sure everything's good on my end here. But yeah, I think that's a little silly that I like Mount Bathurst, but I don't like Jeddah. Especially because I think Mount Bathurst is obviously significantly more dangerous. There's just something about going through the mountains. I feel like it's so much more satisfying for me personally, which is an odd thing to say. But yeah, definitely a much more satisfying circuit to just hug the walls. And then I love the Sector 1 and then back end of Sector 3, and the start of Sector 1 more specifically, right before you hit the mountain. I mean, the raw speed you can get coming out of the mountain, the fighting that occurs going up into the mountain is a lot of fun. A set of Corsa Evos coming out, and they actually have Mount Bathurst with modern F1 cars. I saw I saw one of my YouTubers I watch. I don't have any one particular sim racer. I just kind of watch whatever pops up. Random guy popped up. He was driving the 2025 Ferrari HP car through Mount Bathurst, and when he was coming back down the mountain, I forget the turn name, but it looked like the car was about to take off. It was awesome. And then obviously just the raw speed you carry through a lot of those corners. It's just insane to me. I feel like when I'm pushing my GT3 car, I'm like on the limit, obviously. But the F1, I mean, these F1 cars, man, just make these turns look so simple on almost any track, really. So made me a little embarrassed. I don't even think the guy in the video was like really trying to gun for it either. So that was yet another yet another moment there that made me really go into awe from what I was watching here. A little bit of a long load time here with our drivers right now. I do apologize with the desktop audio. I did not turn that on. I do typically have that off as I guess just don't want to bother you guys. And YouTube as well gets angry when there's the background music playing. So I just want to make sure I don't get any copyright issues. I actually in not China, in Monaco. In Monaco, as we're watching our drivers here on the grid, they're going to do a quick formation lap. As we're doing that, allow me to introduce them all a little more properly to you guys. In first place, pole position here right now, Rebel in the Alpine, followed by Prosk in the Williams here. UF1 William in the Aston Martin here. Very aggressive driver, falling quite behind here right now at the start of the formation lap. Hopefully he doesn't get penalized here. It would be a little unfortunate. Reimer in the Ferrari, right behind UF1 William. We've seen a lot of fighting. Great racecraft between these two drivers. I'm quite excited to see what happens here in turn one. Followed by that, Despy in the Red Bull. I did see some chatter in the paddock, the Red Bull paddock. Despy in particular has practiced a fair bit for this track. I think it was Despy at least that has practiced a fair bit for this track, so I'm quite excited to see what Despy does here. Mac, the other Red Bull driver here, qualifying right behind their teammate. We'll have to see what happens here as we're now looking at the possible race strategies here. It does look like it's going to be a uncomfortable one-stop and comfortable two-stop race here. Following that is Carrot G and the Williams, split by 4 cars from Prosk. We'll have to see if Carrot G is able to fight their way back up and catch up with their teammate. Focoena in the Haas. Lot of talk here with Focoena is in the paddock, little bummed obviously that they missed out on the podium in Las Vegas, but we'll have to see if they maybe are able to perform something here in COTA. Following that is GDB, the other Aston Martin driver here. Oh, losing the rear tire there a little bit on turn 14. We'll have to see how GDB takes the start of the race here. Behind them is Money in the McLaren. We'll have to see if the constructor and driver championship winning car here sees any strong play at the top of the field here. My best wishes go up for all of these drivers, and let's have a good clean turn one start. So we're watching Prosk here. Rebel did overshoot their grid start. This may ruin the start and give Prosk a phenomenal opening opportunity here. A lot of tension. I don't know why, but I'm feeling a lot of tension here right now. If my audio is a little low for the race, do tell me. I will gladly raise it. I did have it a little low because I don't want the cars to overshadow my beautiful voice. But we're all here for the cars. Let's be honest here. As Green flag in the back. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your chairs here. As we're blasting off at the start of the COTA GP. Coming up into turn 1 here, we're on board with Prost, who's looking for the inside turn here coming up. And we see a spin out in the Aston Martin and the Haas in the back. I believe I saw the Money in the McLaren also lose a little bit. Rebel managing it to keep a position here. Reimer and William fighting for position, 3rd place. And it seems like Reimer gets the move done. Going into the S is a good pass here from Reimer. And IUF1 Williams is going to want to fight for that back here. A lot of dirty air. It's going to be affecting his braking point as he moves around the track right now. Mack moves past their teammate Despy here, eyeing the back of the Aston Martin. Despy, unfortunately, lost out on a position. Carrot G and Money manages to move up 2 whole positions here after the contact that occurred between Focoena and the Haas and GDB in the Aston Martin. Allow me to throw on some detailing here, guys, as I throw on some position changes. Let's jump up and back here to the front of the grid. Doesn't look like I'm seeing any close pass opportunities, as all of our drivers are not coming up into turn 12. You can see Focoena in the back there. We still have yet to see the Aston Martin of GDB, as we now see him hitting the end of the overtake straight here. Super unfortunate moment. A lot of race to go here, though, for the Aston Martin. I wish him the best of luck here, and a strong, confident race to bring him back into strong contention. IUF1 William quite close, as we see Reimer take turns 16 through 18 quite wide here. Strong swing into turn 20, it looks like. Very strong swing from William here into turn 20. A little too far to really make a move yet. Reimer does seem to be using some battery. Rebel is starting to pull away quite intensely. Prosk is going to want to make sure to stay as close as possible. Rebel almost losing the rear of the car right there. Prosk also loses the rear of the car a little bit there, as we see the Aston Martin go into the pit lane. Very unfortunate. Most likely has wing damage from the contact with the Haas. We're watching Reimer here eyeing the back of this William. He is going to want to get a good race here. We have a first-time chatter here. Best viewer stream, though. And get these bots out of my chat. If you are a first-time watcher, though, please feel free to chat with me. I love talking to you guys. It's always a swell time. I will be throwing on some telemetry here. Oh, I did not mean to do that. There we go. Some telemetry data. I always love showing off the battery here. We have Reimer with DRS very, very close here to the back of the Williams car. Swings out to the outside here as they come up onto turn 12. This may be a by-the-book pass as Prost swings wide onto the racing line. Very, very close there as they go up into turn 13. And Reimer gets the maneuver done before hitting the actual right turn of turn 13 and moving up into 2nd position. Good fight here. Good attempt from Prost to hold the position. That did compromise him through the stadium complex and now leaves him vulnerable for IUF1 William to take advantage of the situation. A little bit of a wide line there from the Aston Martin coming up into turn 19. Seems like a little bit of a lockup as he hits turn 20. William is wanting to stay as close as possible to these cars as Reimer sets the fastest lap and maybe a contender for podium, the top of the podium. A little bit of a lockup. Good swing there from the Aston Martin, though. We do seem to have a split now between our 1st through 5th. Despy is a little bit isolated right now, 2 seconds behind their teammate and 2 seconds ahead of the Williams of Carrot G. Money and Focoena, though, eyeing the back of Carrot G here. GDB is unfortunately 40 seconds behind from the rest of the competition here. Keep your head down, GDB. Anything can occur, even with 10 cars here. Some kind of contact or even a clipped wing may bring out a safety car, and just like that, you'll be back in the race. As we now watch GDB dive into the pit lane here. We'll have to see what the strategy is. Most of the cars, from what I can tell here, very clearly have medium tires, though. I will put on that stat as we actually have GDB retire from the session. Super unfortunate there for the Aston Martin team, as they will be missing out on points. It seems like everybody here is on medium tires except for Carrot G, actually. Carrot G has opted to go for hard tires, which may be explaining why they're struggling, even though their teammate has the same car setup, from my understanding. Reimer loses the rear there a little bit coming out of turn 15. You hear the roar of that Ferrari, guys. Sorry, I was listening to the beauty of that. jump back here to, let's see if we get any cool. We do have penalties. Focoena actually has a 10-second penalty from their contact at the start of the race, I assume. I don't believe Focoena has pitted yet, meaning that it was such a grave hit that it was just straight up a 10-second penalty. Super unfortunate there, though, once again for GDB. It seems like Focoena hit the rear of the Aston Martin, spun him out, and just simply compromised both of their races. We're watching here Reimer in the Ferrari, a contender for the top spot of the podium right now. He is fighting for the Drivers' Championship. There's a lot of race to go, and Reimer is one of the drivers that is capable of doing this. A little bit of a lockup. Good control, though, as we see Mac at the back of this Aston Martin. This may be an overtaking opportunity. We'll have to see if William is, of course, using ERS here. And Mac, of course, is also using ERS. I think DRS is going to be the difference maker as we actually watch the Aston Martin defend the inside line here. Mac very cleanly moves through the outside and takes the position going into turn 12. Big lockup there on the rear left, though, and that gives up the position back here to the Aston Martin. Let's see how they handle the stadium complex, and Mac backs out of the fight before hitting turn 13, opting to wait once again for some kind of DRS assistance instead of losing a lot of time here through the stadium complex as they're now hitting turn 16 here. Very unfortunate moment there for Mac. A little bit of a rear loss there from Cross because he's now watching two of his driver championship competitors pull away from him. I do apologize. I will be deleting this first-time viewer over here. How do I do that? I don't want that in my chat. Get out of here. Can't figure it out. Let's go back to the race. Reimer is much closer here to the back of the Alpine of Rebel here. 0.3 going into the S's. The dirty air coming out of the back of this Alpine car is going to compromise the downforce of the Ferrari here. Let's see how Reimer's able to handle it. And he goes over turn 8 there a little bit. Hopefully that wasn't any kind of black and white flag. It'd be a little unfortunate, though. Reimer is now 0.2 seconds behind the Alpine of Rebel. It's definitely going to be a fight here on the overtake straight as they go through turn 11 here. A little bit of skidding there from Reimer as he gets back onto the power. A lot of battery usage between both of these guys. We see Rebel take a very deep inside line. Reimer moves to the outside, coming up into turn 12. Good braking from both of these guys, and Reimer moves up into first place. Rebel's not able to fight back as he kind of looks for the inside of turn 13 and backs out of it. Very reasonable decision. That is a tough turn to dive into. Money and Focoena are fighting in the back here, and it seems like Money attempted to go for, or no, excuse me, Focoena went for a turn 12 dive and passed Money in the McLaren. Unfortunate that we missed that. Good pass, though, by Focoena undoubtedly here, as Money is now going to be chasing the back of the Haas here. Ooh, we saw Max struggling a little bit with control there. I don't know. That might not have looked as obvious as most other spins we've seen, but I know Mac was clenching going through turns 19 and 20 right there. I could tell that car was a millimeter of throttle harder, or I guess deeper into losing the car. Focoena now working their way up the field, looking at the back of the Williams here. It does not seem like the hard tires of Carrot G are really assisting at the moment. We'll have to see if the tire degradation is incredibly strong here for the rest of these cars, especially due to the fact that they have mediums on. Carrot G may be playing for the long game here, opting to keep the faster tires for the back end of the race. We're now watching Mac and William here begin their little mental fight on the overtake straight. William moves very far left on the straight here, going for a defensive line. Mac using as much, oh, big lockup once again for Mac as William moves in front of the car. Mac going for an inside dive on turn 13. A major contact there as Mac almost loses the car. William holds onto the position there. Big dive attempt there for Mac that may have compromised his race a little bit. The tires, a lot of skidding we heard there as he was hitting turn 12, and obviously through the contact of turn 13, that may have sacrificed a little bit of tire degradation for that attempt. Mac now falls behind a whole second. Good fight there between William and Mac. As I was saying, though, on the straight. I kind of got stuttered on my words as I was anticipating the overtake. Mac is really attempting to utilize as much of the draft here as possible coming off the back of William right now. Even now we see he tries to line himself up as much as possible, as we actually have two pits here. Despy in the Red Bull and Focoena in the Haas, both deciding to pit right now. I assume they're most likely going to be throwing on hard tires. Yes, and it is all hard tires for these guys right now. Despy and Focoena both throwing on hard tires here. Well, once again, we haven't really seen a terribly strong we got a big moment here from Despy. I believe he lost control of the car. Super unfortunate here from Despy as he came out of the pit lane losing control of the car and going into turn 2. That will give Focoena a major opportunity to gain some position back, especially since Focoena had to serve their 10-second penalty. Super unfortunate moment there for the Red Bull team. As we now come back here to Carrot G, I just realized that that Money managed to get a pass on the Williams here. Unfortunately, I didn't see the occurrence. I assume Carrot G may have had a moment that gave Money the overtaking opportunity. I don't believe Carrot G is pitted yet. No, he's not. We're watching Carrot G sit behind the McLaren here, itching for an overtake. Deep dive into turn 15. As Money swings wide, very, very nice overtake there from the Williams going into turn 15. Very, very slow. We saw some action there this year between Sonoda and Ollie Behrman. Kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Good defense, good attack from both of these drivers. Phenomenal fight. We're now watching Despy looking at the back of this Haas here. Super unfortunate that Despy spun out there going into turn 1, from what I could tell. A little too much throttle with how cold the tires are, especially with the kind of awkward angle of attack, essentially, that the turn 1 hill climb gives these drivers. Jumping back here to Mac, who has been fighting with IUF1 William here for the last few laps. William managing to defend quite nicely. It seems to me that Mac can't quite figure out their braking point when they hit turn 12. That is obviously a critical component of the overtaking opportunity overall. Major lockups every time Mac attempts to overtake. I think, admittedly, that he's relying a little bit too much on draft here, following William all the way to the left side, a little bit too far back to really make a dive attempt here. But the previous times that we've watched, I think it's just been a little he follows him too far to the left, and that compromises his racing line with how much more speed he has, especially. As he actually looks for the inside on turn 15, does not manage to get a nose in. William does not flinch in any capacity as they start pulling away here. I have to ask myself if Mac was trying to sell William a dummy there. And if so, William did not take the bait and lost about almost 0.2 of a second there. With the attempt here. Rebel looking at the back of Reimer, though. They've managed to close the gap here pretty closely to Reimer. I have to ask myself if Reimer's tires are a little more worn out than Rebel's here. Rebel is one of our more dominant drivers, very experienced, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's acting as a very nice little tire whisperer right now. Good dive here into turn 7. Nice little swing into turn 8 here. These drivers are using as much track, and Rebel, as I said that, gets a 3-second time penalty for excessive track limits. Super unfortunate there from Rebel. Really trying to maximize his use of the track to stay as close as possible to Reimer, but Reimer here just managing to keep Rebel behind. And now Rebel with the 3-second penalty offers Prosk an opportunity here to get second place now. Let's jump back here to our two favorite drivers on the grid right now. We've seen some phenomenal fighting from both of these guys. I particularly remember Mexico, as we now watch Mac once again follow William to the leftmost side. Very late move into the right side, entering the braking zone to turn 12. Does not get a maneuver off. William blocking the exit of Mac. Good defense there. Mac looking for a deep dive into turn 13. Hitting 14. William is sitting on the apex. Great defending. Sometimes that's just the way to do it. That's just the way to do it. Super unfortunate. I hope Mac doesn't get too aggravated. The mental game here in races like today is an incredibly important aspect as we now watch Rebel here sitting behind the Ferrari right now as they come up onto turn 12 with DRS advantage. Doesn't seem like they're quite close enough to make a dive into turn 1, as they will opt to continue sitting behind the Ferrari. This will eat away at their tire life, unfortunately, and will possibly require an earlier pit stop than their opponent here, as they now enter the S's. It's a shame, too, because Rebel isn't obviously able to serve their 3-second time penalty in any capacity. I believe you can only serve your time penalty in the game if it's 10 seconds or more, or some kind of interval of 5, I believe. Minimum 10 seconds, though. Mac with the 3-second time penalty for excessive track limits. Super unfortunate, as we actually have, as we were watching our top 2 podium contenders here, it seems like IUFO and Williams decided to actually pit here, and super unfortunate. It seems like Mac got the penalty out of their own driving ability. Let's jump over here and look at the not the telemetry. Well, telemetry, yes, but let's see. Fastest laps. Obviously, Reimer currently in the lead with an incredibly fast lap. Mac actually has one of the fastest laps here right now on track, even faster than IUF1 William here, sitting in 4th position, faster than Prosk, who's ahead of them right now. We'll have to see if Mac is able to close this gap much at all right now. Looking at the bottom right map here, you guys can see how far Mac and Prosk are visually, and let's jump back to the interval here to get an idea of how far behind they are time-wise. A whole 8.5 seconds, super unfortunate there. I kind of, you guys should drop in the chat if the bottom right track map is nice to have during a full race. I'm a little iffy about it, but I think right now it's actually offering a nice little bit of information at the moment. We are seeing a lot of these drivers pit right now. Let us jump over to our number of pit stops here. It seems like everybody who isn't in the top 4 have decided to pit now. We'll have to see how our top 4 guys decide to react. Obviously, Carrot G, who has had hard tires here the majority of the race, is opting not to pit this early. We'll have to see what they decide to do with their 10-lap old hards. Watching Money and Focoena in the back once again fight a little bit, or not fight. It seems like Focoena manages to get a pass on Money after Money is coming out of the pit lane here. Going to be a bit of a slow race here, as we actually have Prosk and Carrot G now fighting. It doesn't seem like there's going to be much of a fight actually, as Prosk moves up and past Carrot G with the fresher tires here. Prosk, who is in contention for a podium at the moment. We'll have to see how Mac responds to the Prosk and William pit here. Mac is definitely not going slow right now. Possibly now that William has decided to pit, has allowed that may have allowed Mac here to gain an advantage here of just raw pace. Excuse me, I'm studying over my studying my words. I should be studying words. I'm stuttering over my words right now, as we see Rebel here, our contender pit right now. Our first place contender pit. We actually join him as he's leaving the pit lane here. Let's see if he shows up in the middle of any of these guys. That'd be super unfortunate. And it doesn't look like Prosk and Carrot G are close enough. We do see Mac go into the pit lane. This may be a huge moment for the race between, and we actually see William very comfortably past Mac. The fresher tires offered William enough speed to very comfortably pass Mac. That looks like almost a whole 5 second. It's a 7-second difference almost. Super unfortunate there. Mac obviously has had the faster lap between both of these drivers, but just having to deal with those really worn medium tires for those 3 extra laps longer obviously compromised Mac's ability to maintain a rhythm here. We're watching him struggle here with the coldness of these hard tires. Good control from him. It's a good idea, obviously, not to push these tires too hard or risk a spin. That may have been what happened with his teammate Despy. Super unfortunate. And as I was mentioning the tires here, IUF1 William actually gets a 3-second time penalty for excessive track limits. So these guys, as far as I'm concerned, are back on equal footing right now. Keep hitting the wrong buttons, guys. I'm super sorry about that. Reimer has yet to pit, and Reimer is possibly going to be coming out behind both Rebel and Prosk here. I'm not too sure what the length of pit time is here at COTA. but I have to assume it's about 20 to 21 seconds, and if that's the case, then both of these drivers are going to get a very comfortable pass here, and it's going to be very, very close. Now watching Reimer here. Rebel, we may be seeing him on the left side, and Rebel managed to get the pass. Prosk is also going to be coming up here and gets the pass done on. Oh, almost contact there as Prosk has to swing a little wide, almost colliding into Reimer. Reimer moving into a defensive position, coming out of the pit lane into turn one. A huge moment there, but Prosk still has the tire advantage here. Warmer tires, and we've clearly seen how slippery these cold hard tires are, especially in COTA before they warm up here. This may be Prosk's only a real opportunity to get a pass here on Reimer. I believe Reimer has been a faster driver in this particular race. We have seen a little bit of a skerfuffle between these two guys in previous races, and we'll have to see what occurs here as they're coming up onto the overtake straight. Doesn't look like Prosk is going to be quite close enough to make a move here. Super unfortunate there. As the fresher tires of Reimer will obviously be a deciding factor later into the race. Prosk is now, unfortunately, a little bit of at a disadvantage now. Not able to close the gap despite the warmer tires. Reimer's tires at this point in the track should be quite up to temperature now, as we do see Reimer start pulling away a little bit here now. Almost a tenth now. They were about 0.5, 0.6 apart. And unless Prosk makes me eat my words right now, I'm watching the time fluctuate a fair bit at the moment. Does not look like Prosk is going to be able to get a move done here into turn one. We will jump back here to IUFO and William, who is fighting the partner of Prosk here as we see those two guys hit the top of the hill climb there. Very, very cool. And William does look for the inside onto turn one. We see a very deep dive here as he pushes Carrot G a little bit wide. We actually see a little bit of contact there. None of the drivers seem to have lost their wings. Very, 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 very deep dive there from IUFO and William. Phenomenally done. Gets the move done here at the start of the ESs, which will compromise Carrot G a lot with the effect it has on the downforce of the cars. Huge moment there. And William here is going to be sniffing for a podium possibly. Prosk now sitting behind. Reimer's still a little bit too far, I believe, to really get a move done. Very unfortunate, though. As Prosk attempts to sell Reimer a dummy there, does not get the dummies sold, though. That will be going back on the shelves. Mac, unfortunately, gets another 3-second time penalty for excessive track limits. That is going to be 6 seconds that will be added at the end of the race time for Mac. Super unfortunate moment there. Foco Enna is going to be ecstatic having seen that, though. We've been watching a very strong drive here from Despy. I've been eyeing them at the back of the grid here. They've managed to close the gap quite confidently. If anything like a safety car occurs, Despy is going to be very easily right back in the race here. Prosk looking for the inside on turn one. Zero doubt in my mind as he goes for a dive attempt here. Looking for the inside. Reimer doesn't really offer too much of a defensive shake. Oh my gosh. I went to the wrong driver. Reimer attempting to go side by side into the S's here. Oh my gosh, neither driver is willing to give up position here as Prosk manages to get ahead of Reimer. Reimer deciding not to go side by side through the S's. A very, very risky maneuver and a very, very good call in my opinion. Great, great fight by both of these guys as Rebel gets another 3-second time penalty. I believe Rebel is now at 6 seconds, which is a huge moment here for the podium contention, obviously. Prosk is now currently sitting in first place, having passed Reimer. Mac gets another 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. Super unfortunate as we now watch Mac slowly drive back onto the track. Very unfortunate. It seems like they drove straight into the grass here, which is now going to give Foco Enna another opportunity here. Foco Enna closing the gap pretty confidently here. As Reimer actually gets a pass back done on Prosk here. Super unfortunate moment. Reimer did have DRS advantage, which gave him that opportunity. It seems like Reimer may have given the position up going into the S's, knowing that they'd have the advantage in the overtake straight. Prosk now losing out a fair bit of track position here from Reimer, now 0.7 seconds behind here. Corner cutting penalty for Prosk, a 3-second time penalty for excessive track limit. Super unfortunate from Prosk. That is obviously going to be a major upset here, as Carrot G gets another time penalty as well. Let's throw on the time penalties. I'm not too sure what the final times here with how many we've seen so far this race. Rebel with a 6-second time penalty. Reimer with 0 time penalties. One of 2 clean drivers left on the grid, and zero doubt in my mind, we will be seeing Reimer take advantage of that fact. Prosk, who we watched get a time penalty for excessive corner cutting onto turn 19. A super unfortunate moment there. I say excessive corner cutting. I mean to say excessive track limits. Super unfortunate moment there for Prost, as we see Mac has decided to retire from the session. I believe Mac cut the corner and then got an excessive track limit penalty there. Super unfortunate. Brought him up to 22 seconds, and Mac simply did not want to deal with that anymore. My heart goes out to the Red Bull driver Mac. COTA is definitely one of those trickier technical tracks, especially when it comes to handling excessive track limits here. The Red Bull team will be missing out on critical points for the Drivers' Championship. There is a long season to go still, though, so it isn't the end of it fully. Jeddah, once again, is a very popular track for a lot of these guys. They like it a lot. We'll have to see how Mac is able to bring it back. Unfortunately, after that maneuver as well, I just realized that Reimer will be moving ahead of Mac in the Drivers' Championship as well. That will bump Mac down to 6th position, moving Reimer up to 5th position. We see Prosk here using as much of the track as possible. To be quite frank with you, it looks like he is exceeding track limits almost every corner. Obviously, though, has not gained another time penalty, so he's pretty much on the line. It's incredible to watch a driver drive like this, managing to stick quite close to the back of Reimer here, using a fair amount of battery. He's trying to stick to 50%, it looks like. Reimer, comparatively, a little bit lower on the battery, but has cleaner air in front of him, which gives him a tire degradation life advantage. As we watch Foco Enna go for, Carrot G coming out of the pit lane, deciding to pit here. Carrot G was on 17-lap old hards. Very, very impressive stint here from Carrot G. We'll have to see how they respond, as that will have set them a few seconds behind the Haas car, Foco Enna. Seems like it will be a 6-second difference here. We're watching Carrot G with the fresh medium tires here. There are 11 laps to go still. I have to ask myself if Carrot G is intending to take these to the end. Seems like most drivers very obviously have hard tires here, as Despy gets a 3-second time penalty for excessive track limits. Super unfortunate. This entire race, we've seen a lot of track limit violations from a lot of these drivers. It could be a possibility that it is a lack of practice, though admittedly trying to push your car to the very limit in COTA is incredibly difficult to do. The track limits are very easy to get, and this particular track in the F1 calendar requires you to use every possible inch. You guys can see how wide it is. This just gives you so many opportunities to swing your momentum around. So we actually see a yellow flag come up at the bottom right corner. It looks like the McLaren of Money may have spun out coming out of turn 11 there. Little bit of water right there. So we're watching Carrot G hit turn 20 here, almost losing the rear of the car. Good control, lost a little bit of speed there, unfortunately. Did compromise their exit, but nonetheless, they have closed the gap to the Haas, ahead of them by 2 seconds almost here. Despy has 3 stops, a very unfortunate moment there. Despy's most likely going to... I can't seem to actually quite remember why Despy had to stop an additional time. I know they lost control of the car. They may have received wing damage, actually, as I'm trying to piece the clues together here. Despy may have lost their front wing, or part of their front wing, after their turn 1 spin out. Unfortunately, that obviously required an instantaneous pit there. And then, nonetheless, Despy still has to... make sure the tires don't blow up on him by the end of the race. So that requires yet another pit stop there. As Despy moves past Money going into the pit lane here. I have to ask if Money had any wing damage, but I don't believe he did. Turn 11 doesn't really have any walls that are too close to you. We're watching Carrot G here, coming up in the turn 14, hitting 15 right here now. Carrot G is going to want to make sure that these tires are as fresh as possible as they approach the back of the Haas here. They don't want to have worn tires here. We see a little bit of marbling up here on the tires. It's a little effect I've always enjoyed about this game. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome to Purple Sector F1 Racing League here. We are an F1 dedicated racing league. If you are interested in joining us, we should have our Discord invite link in the description of the Twitch here. If not, we have our YouTube, which should work for that one. I'm pretty confident works, and which you can go to our 2 or 3 most recent races, and I have an invite link there for you as well. We have 2 different divisions, Division 1 and Division 2. Division 2 is more for our newer drivers, drivers that are maybe barely getting into sim racing and still require a little bit of experience to hone their racecraft. If that sounds interesting to you, I highly encourage you to join us. We love talking to new guys. A lot of the guys here in the server are more than willing to help you out, as we now have Carrot G here under a second. I'm unsure if you got DRS in time, did not get DRS in time, still closing the gap quite intensely here with Focoena. But going back to what I was saying, we love having new drivers here. Once again, if you don't think you have the time to dedicate for a full season, you can become a reserve driver. There's always at least going to be the Kick Sauber team that has 2 open spots if the grid is full otherwise. And in the event that it isn't, you can fill in for spots for other teams. So it offers you a good opportunity to flex for the team principals, and they may decide to pick you up as a full-time driver as a full-time driver. So again, if that sounds interesting to you as a new sim racer, please join us. Rebel gets another 3-second time penalty that will put Rebel up to 9 seconds now, I believe, which gives Prosk yet another opportunity to get into the podium, or a higher position on the podium, excuse me. Super unfortunate there from Rebel as he's trying to maximize the track as much as possible. I've noticed that Reimer has managed to stay between 4 to 5 seconds behind Rebel. I have to ask myself if that's on purpose, just trying to make sure the tires last until the end of the race. If you are an experienced sim racer, going back to the league here, then we have Division 1, which is what you're watching right now. These drivers have a little more experience or have proven themselves competent racecraft drivers, or good racecraft drivers here, and got the promotion into Division 1. We do race at 6:30 Mountain Time, which I think is 8:30 EST, which is where the race director is located. I think EST time zone. As we're watching Prosk here, using a little bit of DRS, looking to the inside, coming up into turn 12, and does get the by-the-book pass here with the DRS assistance. I don't believe Focoena is really going to be able to do anything to stop it, as we actually have Reimer now gain a 3-second time penalty here. I have to ask myself if IUF1 William has a 3-second time penalty. It seems like Focoena is now the only driver on the grid without any time penalties. This could be a huge moment for Focoena. If Focoena is able to close the gap, which I hope they do, they'd be able to really capitalize on the fact that a lot of the drivers here ahead of them have those time penalties. Rebel with 9-second time penalty, essentially 6 seconds, subtracting the 3-second time penalties that Reimer and Prosk have. Will be giving Reimer the podium position here. Prosk is just outside of the 6 seconds that he needs to be within, unfortunately. I'm not sure if Prosk is going to be able to close that gap. As we look at our tire life here, Prosk is on the oldest tire of our top 3 podium contenders right now. It's going to be a little difficult to close that gap and take advantage of the fact that Rebel has a 9-second, essentially, or 6-second time penalty, at least to Prosk's perspective. Nonetheless, it's very obvious here that these drivers are struggling to keep it on track. We may be seeing more time penalties from Rebel, Reimer, or Prosk, which will affect the overall finish of these guys here. As we're watching Reimer here coming up on the lap 22 here, hitting turn 20 now. we've had a pretty interesting race so far. The start of this race had a lot of action, which I am very thankful for. I think COTA is one of those tracks that I think just due to the current F1 car, I guess what would you call it, like rules, the downforce era essentially, makes it a little difficult as we have a spin out in the back here, possibly from Kara G. Who is that? Oh my gosh, that was Prosk, ladies and gentlemen. It seems like Prosk spun out on turn 1. Super unfortunate as they now fall behind Reimer by 15 seconds. Reimer will no longer have to worry about a little bit of combat here in the back as we're watching Prosk or William and Kara G fighting. A little bit of wheel-to-wheel banging here as they're coming up to the S's. Neither of these drivers are giving up position here as Kara G falls behind William going into the S's. It is definitely not worth going in there side by side. I've mentioned this before. William deciding to go for a fresh pair of medium tires though, which gave Kara G the opportunity to fight for the position. It seems like William though is going to be able to pull away quite comfortably now. Almost a full second ahead. Kara G did get DRS just now. He did pass the DRS detection zone within a second. Kara G may be able to utilize the additional lack of downforce here to close the gap, but very, very interesting maneuver here from William. William may have noticed the spin out from Prosk and decided that it may be worth getting the new tires here. As we actually see a huge corner cut right there from William. Did not get a penalty there. Unfortunately, I believe both William and Prosk have the same time penalty. And no, William actually has a 9-second time penalty. I apologize, I mixed up the strategy. William isn't trying to close the gap on Prosk after seeing Prosk spin out. William is trying to open the gap from Kara G and Focoena behind him now. Strong swing into turn 19. William is our most stressed driver on the grid right now. I have zero doubt in my mind. Reimer, once again, has stayed between 4 to 5 seconds of Rebel. It's very clear to me now at this point that he is just trying to keep the tires alive until the end of the race. Having lost Prosk on his tail, I'm sure is a huge stress reliever. So Reimer really just has to focus now on not losing control of the car or gaining more penalties here at the moment. Kara G, unfortunately, is losing out on William. They will need to stay within 6 seconds here of the Aston Martin vehicle to make sure they gain the position, which is a possibly tall ask, actually. We know that Kara G's tires are 6 laps old now, and obviously Williams' tires are 1 lap old now at this point. So Kara G is going to have quite an uphill battle here. He may just be relying on the fact that UF1 William hopefully gets another penalty here, which will net him a 9-second window here. Focoena is also trying to fight to get within close enough within both Kara G and William. I have no doubt in my mind Focoena wants to take advantage of the fact that IUF1 William and Kara G both have time penalties. A phenomenal drive from Focoena, the cleanest driver here on the grid today. It's always nice seeing a Haas car show off for the U.S. audience here. I'm a Haas fan personally, so I might be a little biased. I'm quite excited to see Cadillac on the grid next year, though. I am a huge, well, I like the car Cadillac, I guess. And Despy gets another 3-second time penalty. Excessive track limits would have to be my assumption here. And Despy and Money are now fighting for 7th position here. If Money's able to close the gap, that will be some pretty big points for the McLaren team. But as I was saying, I like Cadillac. I think they have a nice car. I'm a WEC enjoyer, and I do go for Cadillac and WEC. So I'm hoping to see them do something good in Formula One. I think the fact that they're grabbing WEC engineers, from my understanding, I think they're pulling engineers from their WEC team to the F. And WEC is World Endurance Championship. For those of you who may not be aware, that is World Endurance Championship that stands for WEC here. As we see Focoena, unfortunately, struggling with car control right now at the moment, losing out on 5th position now as Kara G has managed to pull ahead by 3 seconds here. But as I was previously mentioning, I think they're pulling engineers from their WEC team, and their WEC team is really good. So I'm really banking on the fact that the Cadillac F1 car is going to be very nice. We're watching a huge amount of lockups right now from Foco Enna. I'm very curious how old their tires may be. Foco Enna is on 17 lap old tires. A huge struggle for him right now, no doubt in my mind. Honestly, if I was Foco Enna, I would just pit. I think there's no reason to risk one of these tires blowing up right now on him. Despy's 58 seconds behind Foco Enna right now. There's really no risk to just changing them out and racing a comfortable race. As I say that actually, we watched Foco Enna dive into the pit lane here. A little bit of a lockup as they go into the pit lane. Thankfully, no speeding penalties here, as we're now watching Money in the McLaren here within 2 seconds of Despy. 6-lap old hards versus 16-lap old hards. Foco Enna throws on some softs, going for the fastest lap. We do offer a fastest lap point here in Purple Sector F1. A little bit of a lockup there for Money. We watch him cut the corner on turn 12 a little bit. Let's hope Money doesn't get too deep into their head. They are a strong driver. He just needs to hold on to that confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to point out here how IUF1 Williams is now within 10 seconds of Prost, and I keep forgetting that he has 9-second penalty, man. I keep getting excited that Prost and William are going to duke it out, penalty-wise, essentially, but unfortunately, it's just not the case here. As I mentioned, IUF1 William has now pulled away far enough from Carriage G to not have to worry about losing the position. I believe this may be IUF1 Williams' highest finishing order, so huge congrats to the Aston Martin team and the William for that possible finish here. We still have 3 laps to go, so I don't want to curse anything yet. But nonetheless, as I was saying, we're watching Money here, going through the S's, coming up onto turn 6, left turn 7 here, sharp pinch on turn 8, turn 9, good exit. Now within a second, Money is going to want to stay within a second here. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like they managed to get DRS as they cross the detection zone. Super unfortunate. Money will still have, as I've mentioned, 3 laps to try to close in on Despy. Super unfortunate here from the Red Bull team, though. They have lost 1 driver, and Despy, of course, had their moment earlier in the race. Good attempt from both of these guys to try to bring it back as much as possible, though. Money once again within a second of Despy here. It's a little unfortunate because we're watching Despy use their battery quite efficiently here at the moment. Actually, I'm going to sit on Despy here for a little bit, as I realize that showing the battery of Money may not be very fair to Money, as I'm aware that the team principal for Red Bull is watching. I do want to keep it entertaining as well, to be quite honest with you. So my best of wishes go out to Money. I believe if Money passes the Red Bull car here, that will be a personal record of a 7th position. That would be the highest position that Money has finished in a official race, I believe, which would be a big moment. I'd be quite happy to see here. Watching Money struggling a little bit with the car. Obviously has the fresher tires, though. I mean, the tires on Despy are 18 laps old now at this point. I'm surprised Despy hasn't lost the car, honestly. Very peaceful track. I was right there. Those grandstands you see right there, coming out of turn, what is that? Turn 9 is where I was sitting. You had a pretty good view. Obviously, you don't really see a lot of combat coming out of the S's, but I was able to see the turn 11 hairpin, which we just saw them pass here, and that was pretty cool. Obviously, overtaking there. Unfortunately, though, you can't actually see the overtake straight from where I was, so we did miss out on that. I don't quite remember why. We see Money think about going for an inside move there. We saw a car wiggle a little bit. Money is quite close now to the back of Despy. Let's hope these drivers keep it clean and don't get too desperate. We do see Despy using a lot of battery to try to stay ahead of Money. Those 18, 19 lap old hards are probably brutal to use at the moment. Money sitting quite close to the back here of the Red Bull, coming up into turn 19. Swinging through 20, Money may get an opportunity to dive the Red Bull of Despy into turn 1. Not quite close enough, unfortunately, to make a dive here. We are on the final lap here at the moment, guys. I will be jumping to our race winners in a moment, but let's see if anything occurs between these two guys at the back right now. Track limits right there for money, I believe. Let's hope he doesn't have too many more warnings left, or that may just completely negate this fight right now. Money is fighting very, very hard to stay on Despy right now. Great driving from Money, great control of the car here so far, especially sitting behind another vehicle in COTA nonetheless. There's so much medium to low speed cornering here. Sitting behind a car definitely affects the driver's ability to handle corners. It doesn't look like Money's quite close enough here to make a shake though, unfortunately. I think Money may have forgotten to turn on his DRS during the straight there. I just realized. I heard him turn it on at the very end. Or that may have been it turning off. We actually have a spin out from Rebel, I believe, as he comes up onto turn 19. A huge moment. Reimer manages to pass him. He would have gotten the podium position. A great race here from both of these guys. Reimer finishes first place. Rebel crossing the line in second position. Prosk, unfortunately, not close enough to take advantage of the spin on turn 19 there. Super unfortunate moment. Great drive from our top three drivers here as we're watching Prosk now come across the line in a moment here as they're coming up into turn 20. Taking it slow, taking it easy. Almost loses the rear nonetheless. Great drive here from our top three drivers here. Ferrari. The Ferrari driver Reimer, the Alpine driver Rebel, and Prosk in the Williams. A great drive from all three of these guys here. Super unfortunate. I realized that Money and Despy got lapped, meaning that as soon as Reimer crossed the finish line, the race was over for them. So unfortunately, Money was not able to close in on Despy despite the fact that they both had penalties. They managed to keep it clean for the end of the race here, and Rebel DNF'd in the 5th position. Foco Ena here, our final driver, our cleanest driver of today. A great drive here from Foco Ena. Much love sent out to the Haas driver here. It's quite difficult to keep it clean on this track, and a good showcase here, 5th position. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me here today at Purple Sector F1's Race 8. Excuse me, I burped a little. Allow me to restart that. I'd like to thank you guys here for joining me today in Purple Sector F1's Race 8, the Lone Star State, the Circuit of the Americas GP. I had a great time commentating this, honestly, even with only 10 drivers. This has been, I believe, our lowest showcase, actually, which is a little unfortunate. I think COTA is just not really that popular of a track, and we actually had more drivers in Monaco than COTA, so it must be a really unpopular track. Because we're watching Reimer here, great drive from Reimer. We see Prosk. We see Prosk on the podium, actually. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little unsure on what may have occurred here. Reimer, Prosk, and William are on the podium. I'm going to be skipping this. Maybe I'm unsure if Rebel may have gotten a big time penalty. I don't think we're going to be seeing that stat in time. A very interesting conclusion of the race. From my understanding, of course, it was Reimer, Rebel, and then Prosk. But it seems like something may have occurred there at the end that knocked Rebel down. Give me a quick second, guys. I'm trying to see if I see anything in the paddock, but I'm not seeing anything. That may have just been an unfortunate moment there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it did seem like it bugged out. From my understanding, that was Reimer, Rebel, and Prosk for the finishing podium order. Huge congratulations to all three of those guys. Unfortunately, we won't be interviewing anybody tonight just due to the low count of drivers. We'll let them rest up a little bit here before we move on to Jeddah. But a great drive from all of these guys. I do apologize to the team principal of Red Bull. I did not see your comment of being able to join me. Would have loved to have you though. Maybe for Jeddah, if you'd like to join me, I'd love to host you, and I'm sure the fans here would love to have you in the booth with me. But it'll be cut a little short here today, guys, as we move on to Jeddah next week. A great finish to the actual real life season today in Abu Dhabi. I had a pretty good time watching the race. A very entertaining drive here in COTA, even with the low driver count. Very, very, very clean drive from a lot of these guys. As we see, Prosk RL, no pace. A little unfortunate. I think I saw you mention that you didn't practice, but COTA is also a tough track to drive, to be honest, especially with how aggressive the tire wear is, man. I think that was still a great drive. You got onto the podium. It's going to be good points for the Williams team, and it'll be a good amount of points as well for you in the Drivers' Championship here. But, ladies and gentlemen, I was your host here today, Society, representing Purple Sector F1's Racing League here. Save it on your calendars. Jeddah next week, December 14th. We will also be having a sprint race included along with this fact as well. So I hope you guys are excited to see a little sprint showcase before we move on to the main event. After that, we do hit our winter break, in which I obviously highly encourage everybody to enjoy their time with family. And then after that, we'll be starting off phenomenally at a phenomenal racetrack, Belgium. I absolutely love Spa, and I'm excited to see these guys race there. But thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you guys soon here.